Is it weird, Travis, that I am such a nerd that I get, well, you know how excited I get. I get so excited and so nervous.
It's like Pokemon. You got to collect
them
all.
They are the rock stars of our era.
They are.
I'm telling you, all the legal ladies and the legal lads, right?
Yes.
Mimi Rocah, I've been worshiping her from afar. I can't believe we tricked someone else to coming on the show. I was going to make her a jingle, but you never know if she'll be back. Good morning, Mimi Rocah.
Hi, Stephanie. Nice to be on your show. Thank you.
It's nice to meet you. Honestly, you guys you're just doing such an amazing job because is it not just I'm not a lawyer. Is it not just a breathtaking amount of criminality that we are literally witnessing almost hour by hour, right?
It really is. And thank you for the rock star shout out. But, and I'll follow that up by a sort of serious, observation, which is this is not actually a common thing for former federal prosecutors or FBI agents or intelligence analysts, certainly not former federal prosecutors, to go on cable news. This is not a thing that we do regularly. And you're seeing it in an unprecedented number. And it's for that reason that you're pointing out. This is, there's a lot of hyperbole and we've all gotten a little bit numb, I guess. But this really is an unprecedented amount of lawlessness and the attack on the rule of law. And it's very frightening, especially to those of us who worked within the Department of Justice and know how it should operate, and how it should operate at a distance from the president and from politics. And it's just not working right now.
Yeah, you are obviously one of the, to 1,000 former federal prosecutors who've signed this letter saying that, absolutely, this is obstruction of justice, and he would be, in jail or charged at least if he were not president. And you are like, I can tell you're hopeful for America like I am. You had tweeted yesterday, Mueller did his job and his service to his country. Don McGann, please do yours. Well, he obviously didn't, right? So what's your opinion as to now what?
Look, I did have some hope that Don McGann would, testify because if for no other reason, Trump has been out there calling him a liar, and Trump and his operatives and allies, because of course they have to attack what McGann has said substantively. They have to say it's not true, because if it's true, that's it. It's so damning for the president, as you mentioned in this letter. It is clear obstruction, as almost 1,000 former federal prosecutors have said. So I thought, if nothing else, Don McGann, as a lawyer, as a man who, whatever his politics, has, conducted himself with integrity, would want to sort of stand up for himself and just tell the truth and show that it's the truth again.
And be on the right side of history. So why wouldn't he? Just this headline I'm reading, Mimi, speaking of breathtaking criminality, Trump obstructs justice by commanding lawyer not to testify about the obstruction Trump has already made him do. It's... Yeah, well, but unfortunately, and this is the part I was alluding to before about the Department of Justice and other institutions like the Office of Legal Counsel, Trump is aided in this by authorities, right? So he's McGann now has the cover to say no, because the Office of Legal Counsel came out with this opinion yesterday that about, claiming this sort of inner circle immunity for all, inner circle advisors close to the president. The law, I don't believe in court. I think that it's quite clear it wouldn't be. The only judicial opinion to have ruled on it so far said no, and it just doesn't make sense in this context. And believe it or not, the law actually often makes sense, especially when it comes to these kinds of privileges and separation of powers. So I don't think that would be upheld, but they gave cover to Trump and to McGann to say, oh, well, can't do it, not can't do it, but I really shouldn't do it. I could, but, opinion. And so he has the cover, and no question it would have been a hard thing for him to do, even though the right thing. I understand that, he's politically connected with the Republicans who are backing up Trump. His law firm is, sort of tied up financially with Trump and the Republican Party. And, I'd like someone to take a closer look at that and what's going on there. But it's clear that he, for now, is at least sitting this out. I do wonder, though, if, eventually, not wonder. I mean, I do think that McGahn will only go so far. The same way that when Trump reached out, apparently, and tried to get McGahn to come out and say he didn't think Trump obstructed justice, which, by the way, is legally irrelevant, whether McGahn thinks that or not. But he wouldn't do that. So I think McGahn's only going to go so far. And if there is actually a court order for him to testify, he will.
Yeah. Mimi, I'm sure you read the Washington Post piece about this, sort of rebellion with among the Democrats in the Pelosi meeting last night. And obviously a lot of people said if McGahn doesn't show up, that's it. You tweeted, people want to know what happened and is still happening. House Democrats need to get them the information in digestible ways. Call it what you want, but have hearings with real witnesses. There is a difference between an impeachment inquiry and impeachment, right? What is your opinion as to what now after this McGahn thing this morning?
Yeah, look, and I definitely was someone in the beginning. I'm very respectful of Speaker Pelosi.
Me too.
I really admire her. I admire her political acumen. I'm sure she does know what she's talking about. Okay, but we're just at a point that I don't want to say the politics don't matter, because of course, the elections matter greatly and at the end of the day. But I just think we're at a breaking point where the facts are being kept from the American public, the full picture. The Mueller report is part of the picture, and it's a damning picture, but even that report is not being sort of used appropriately, right? The materials in there, well, you've got to get the facts out to the people.
I agree.
And the only way to really do that is through live witnesses.
Yeah.
And look, it's not easy. They're being stymied obstructed at every turn. But there are other witnesses they could call. And I do believe at this point that if they officially started impeachment inquiry, it would aid them in that. It would be harder for people to say no.
Yeah.
It certainly would help in the courtroom.
Mimi, that's what Lawrence Tribe told us last week. He was on, and that it does give you different tools. And as you know, he's been very cautious about impeachment too. I love that. I love how you guys all dive in with each other. He was like yesterday. He's like, Mimi Rocah's right about. I can't remember what thing you were right about, but it's all of it.
And believe it or not, we do not coordinate behind the scenes. I mean, it kind of tells you that I think people, are coming to, not all people, but, some of us who have been trying to sort of hold back.
No, you're all so smart, Mimi, and you're all so, I think, just critical at this time in our history for making it easily understandable for those of us that aren't lawyers. I mean, it's fantastic. Our friend Jill Wine-Banks will tweet something, and Maya Wiley will jump in and go, preach, and Lawrence Tribe's like, Mimi's right. It's just, but it's these thousands of you, federal prosecutors that believe in the Constitution, into the rule of law, into the separation. I mean, I think this whole thing is just, it's confounding for those of us every day that are trying to understand it. Let me run one thing by you, Mimi, from the Pelosi meeting. She said, today we won our first case, right, meaning the Mazars case. She said, we've been in this thing almost 5 months now. We're getting some results. We still have unexhausted avenues there. So I understand what her strategy is. And I get that they're trying to build a strong enough court case to say we tried everything, right, legally before impeachment.
Yes, I do think that was a valid approach. I mean, it is true. You absolutely cannot just walk into court and say, oh, they didn't comply. I mean, judges, you do get, at least 3 strikes when it comes to court proceedings. Judges like to see, especially, I think, between the executive branch and Congress, that they have exhausted all means. But my sense, and look, I'm not a political analyst, obviously, but my sense is that that's no longer why they aren't starting the impeachment inquiry. I mean, Speaker Pelosi is trying to get the same information out without using the word impeachment. So right. I respect that she understands that the information needs to get out, and she's trying it. But the question is it going to make a critical difference if you actually use the official impeachment, word, if you will, the invocation of that? And it won't solve all the problems. I mean, let's be clear. You still need to issue subpoenas to get people to comply. I just think that it will make a difference in terms of people's ability to just kind of come up with the sort of what Don McGann is doing. I think it would be harder for Don McGann to take this road that he doesn't have to take, but is choosing to take of, I'm not going to testify if you're in the impeachment world. We could be wrong, and maybe you open that impeachment inquiry and you still are so great. I mean, either way, you're going to end up in court.
Right.
It gives the court an extra tool of telling them, we've gone down this road. You don't need it. It's not a necessity. I think they could win in court anyway, but it gives an extra tool.
Right. That's what Ted Lieu said. If McGann doesn't show up this morning, he said we have to move to impeachment inquiry. He said it may not go to full impeachment, but, in his opinion, they have no choice but to start it. You had some great tweets. You said every single Senate Republican and House GOP member who appears on TV to defend Trump should be asked if they've read the full Mueller report, and for specific examples so they can't fake it. If they're going to defend his conduct, they should have the facts to back it up. And, that's the thing you said. You kind of backed up Justin Amash and said that he is correct on everything he said legally, right?
Well, and look at the difference in what he said. I mean, Republicans are attacking him for his position. But first of all, he didn't just state a position. He didn't just say this is impeachable conduct, this is obstruction. In, two long tweets, and, he could write it out in an article, I suppose. And now I've heard that he's been doing it sort of vocally. He's going into the report and taking facts out and using actual legal analysis, and he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, he must have a great staff, frankly. He must have some good lawyers on his staff. That's great. And compare that to what Mitt Romney did when he went on CNN right after House the next day and said, no, I disagree. Now, Mitt Romney is a lawyer. He's not a former prosecutor, but he has a legal degree, I believe.
Right.
And
I was saying he seemed like he was talking about them giving him the wrong fork at his country club. It was just, it's disappointing.
Exactly.
This is...
And look, I would have loved a follow-up question of, really, why? Explain why you don't think he obstructed justice. I mean, I really think that Romney would have been tripping all over himself because, first of all, it's just not a defensible position. And I think they're just saying it as if it's a political talking point, but that's not how the law works. That's not how impeachment works. That's when you're talking about someone committing something and drawing conclusions, you got to have the facts to back it up and the legal analysis.
Well, and you said, I'd love to hear from Mitt Romney how the elements are not satisfied as to any of the 10 areas of obstruction laid out by Mueller. Almost 1,000 former federal prosecutors with decades of experience say otherwise. And this is my favorite tweet of yours this week. The ham-handed way Mitt Romney says this shows he's got no idea what he's talking about on proving obstruction. For example, quote unquote, full element is not a thing. This is like my fake legal experts here. They just yell out, stuff.
Ipso post facto.
Yeah. Okay. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
What is full element? What is that? It is not a legal thing.
Bailiff.
Right. He's clearly trying to say something about the report, the facts laid out don't meet the element, but he can't because he's just parroting something, right? It's like when you ask someone something that they know nothing about, their sentences don't make sense because they're just parroting what they hear other people say as opposed to actually explaining something. And that's another thing that impeachment would do. Okay, sure, maybe no Republicans are ever going to vote for it or ever support it, but make them explain it. I mean, right now, they can just say that.
Yeah.
And without having to explain it. And, I just think it gets harder when you actually sort of require people to explain indefensible positions.
Yeah. One last one maybe before you go. I've kept you too long as usual. Let's see. Jerry Nadler said the president can be impeached for only two things: only for misuse of presidential power while president, or for cheating in the election that gave him the presidency. I'm not a lawyer, but it seems like we have bingo. Do we have legal bingo? It seems like it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that seems rather narrow, so I'm not sure it sounds to me like he was saying those are the sort of two areas that he would focus on, because those aren't the only things.
He was asked about crimes before he was president. And I keep saying I like the legal improv we're doing. It's yes, and. Yes, we can impeach him, and we can indict him later. Right.
Yeah.
But
I mean, look, I think that both of those things would make very strong articles of impeachment. I mean, to me, it's sort of one of them is this complete failure to faithfully execute the laws and uphold, the Constitution, right? I mean, that's part of the president's oath. And he's done that in so many ways. So,
Right.
I mean, so many things would fall under that category. You know, you would sort of have to pick the most egregious 5, one of which would be how you got into office through, you know, all sorts of, even if not criminal acts, you know, things that are not worthy of the presidency.
Yeah.
And at least one criminal act when it comes to the hush money. I mean, that is a felony, but he's essentially already been, you know, it's already been really proven it's there.
And finally, we just played the clip from this rally last night. You said this is despicable, frightening, and yet another attack on the rule of law. We can't laugh this off anymore, House Democrats. I mean, that was frightening. Just lock them up, just presumably anybody that Trump doesn't like. I mean, and, you know, he has got a great AG that will do it. I mean, terrifying, right?
Yes. I mean, you know, I said before, and I'll say it again, I started rolling my eyes at Trump's, you know, lock him up and blah, blah, blah. And I think all of us have gotten used to it. But it is far more frightening to me with Bill Barr there.
Yeah.
Because Barr, I mean, in shocking ways, has gone way beyond what, you know, even if he's, quote, defending the presidency, as he says, he seems willing to go way beyond that. And that's, you know, having the power of the prosecutor behind things that Trump says is and wants to do is very frightening.
The guardrails are gone. Keep your arms and legs inside the democracy at all times, ladies and gentlemen. Mimi Rocah, legal rock star, one of our official legal ladies now. Mimi, thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Talk to you again, I hope.
Okay.
All right.
Definitely.
Okay.